unwired flowers. So I'd like to show you a selection of unwired flowers that you can make. So unwired flowers are flowers without wires in. So they can be made, placed on the cake, and they're all edible. So I've got a peony as a centre flower here. Cosmos, which is this one here. Sunflowers. I've also got hydrangea, and tucked in there is the daisy. This one, sunflowers. I've got hydrangea and a little blossom cutter flower. With this one, I've got open rose, 3 open roses. I've got anemones, hydrangeas, little plunger bottoms. And I understand, you know, you wouldn't know all of these flowers, but I'm just pointing them out. Sunflowers, just to give you an idea of different ones you can do. And calla lilies. Okay. So there's a selection there that you can make. Right, to make unwired flowers. Now I'm going to show you one technique that covers quite a few flowers. So the flowers it would cover are open roses, anemones, blossoms, peonies, any of the round petals, flowers. Okay, so what I've got is a ball pad, non-stick mats, non-stick board, a selection of cutters, a board to put them on, rolling pin, ball tool. I've got some paste and I've got some foil. Okay, so I'm all set. Now the paste that I'm going to use for this is a mixture. So I've got plain sugar paste. So I've got plain sugar paste, but I've also got flour paste. Now, you don't need flour paste in when you're making unwired flowers, but I do find that the results are a lot better. You're able to roll the paste out finer, it dries a little bit harder as well. So I'm putting about 1/3 flour paste, 2/3 sugar paste, and I'm going to mix those in. And straight away you can see that the paste is starting to become a lot stretchier. Now, these won't dry as hard as wired flowers because of the sugar paste in it. So when you do leave them to dry, you've just got to be careful when you come to dust them and assemble them. There we go. So I can pop that back in the bag. Should be okay. My hands are a little bit sticky, so I'm just going to wash them off. Now you need to look at what flower you want to make and try and match it up with a cutter. What cutters have I got? I've got a blossom cutter. I've got a couple of blossom cutters. I've also got a set of individual petal cutters. So these are rose petal cutters. So you've got to try and work out the size and the shape of the petals. So you take some of your paste and you roll it out. Now I'm just using icing sugar, but you can use corn flour if you prefer. I'm rolling my paste. So I want it quite nice and thin, and because that flour paste is in there, it's allowing me to do that. As you can see, it's quite thin. I'm then going to cut out the cutters. can cut a few out at a time, but always cover your paste up. I can then soften around the edge, and you can use your hand if you haven't got a ball tool, ball pad, and if you haven't got a ball tool, you can also use the rolling pin. So you can see I've given the edge of the petal a little bit more movement. And when you do this, you just put the ball tool just on the very edge. Now we need to form them. I'm going to use a very cheap method of forming the petals, something that you can reuse. There's some foil. So I'm just folding this in and copying the silver foil. And then I can set the petal in there till it's dry. Now, with these petals, it works out quite well because I can cup them like that, or using the former, I can bring the petal over. So if your flower has got an edge similar to that, where it curls out, that's how you could dry your petal. Or if it's cupped, I can do it that way. If it's even more cupped, I can make that former a little bit deeper, so it's a little bit more cupped. So you can adjust the former to suit your petals. Now, one thing I forgot to mention is, as I was ball tooling the edge, and I'll show you this one, ball tool the edge, it's only the edge that you ball tool. You wouldn't ball tool these parts down here, because when the petal is dry and you come to put them together, you want them to lie quite comfortably together. Okay, so drying your petals like so. Following the flower that you're making to how you want the petals to dry. So this method, where you dry the petals individually, you need to allow them to dry before you assemble, and I'll show you later on how to assemble them. The anemone is done exactly the same way, but you need to look at the anemone that you're going to do. Yes, it got a longer petal or a more rounded one. Another method I'll show you how to do is putting the petals one on top of the other. So I'm using a blossom cutter for this. So I've rolled out the paste. Just run your thumb over that edge so it comes out nice and clean. Place it on your pad. And again, you can cut a few out in one go. But always have the paste covered up. And what you can do, you can soften down each petal. As you go. Then I'm making my former. And I can reuse these formers. And what I can do, I can put the whole of the blossom cutter in that centre. Using a little bit of water, I can put some water in the centre and put my next layer in. So I can have a single layer of flower, or I can do them separate. And I've placed these here so that they're in between. So 2 petals at the bottom of there, and this one's in between. What I can do with this now is that I can bring up some of the petals so that they're cupped more, or I can lay them to dry flat. That's entirely up to you. And to do that, I can use small pieces of tissue or small pieces of foil, and just lifting it up, I can support it until it's dry. And so on. So I can make a flower that way.